Hi everyone, and welcome back to the PST podcast. I'm Jinlin.
I'm Tamai.
And I'm Boani. Have you heard? We're 3 high school students on a journey to raise awareness for the use of technology in disaster and emergency response.
We want to encourage you to stay prepared and make evacuation plans with your family. Remember to always put people over property.
Hi guys, welcome back to the second episode of the PST podcast. I'm Jinlin.
I'm Tamai.
And I'm Boani.
And today we have Detective Brockmaller and Chief DeGurda with us today. Can you please tell us about yourself, just a little bit?
Hey, I'm Detective Brockmaller. I've been with the department for about 10 years. I started out in the jail, went to patrol, and then I've been in CID for 5 years, transitioning to training. So I'll be overseeing training for the whole police department. Pretty much it as far
That's
as
amazing.
Yeah.
Chief DeGurda.
Yeah, I'm Brad DeGurda. I'm a battalion chief in operations. I've been with the city and the fire department for almost 25 years. I started out as a brand new firefighter paramedic when I was 21 years old. Right now I oversee 3 stations on the C shift.
That's amazing. Well, thank you both for your service, for one. And I think Boani is going to be asking our first question of the day.
I guess I'll start with tornadoes, specifically the fire department deals with that a lot. So what does a fire department play a big role in tornado warnings?
We do, as we go out and check the warning sirens, and then we work with dispatch to activate those when necessary. We also work in the emergency operations center with the weather watchers, and when there's tornado warnings issued and they think it's time to activate the sirens, alert the public, we get involved there. After that, our response is really after the disaster happens, then we come into play at that point.
So while we're on the topic of alerts, we know there's a whole bunch of different kinds of alerts. Last episode we kind of touched on amber, silver, the new camo alert. So if you have anything you want to say on those,
Maybe more of a
Yeah, so
side.
You'll see a lot of different alerts, obviously, because we'll encounter different issues, and a lot of times it has to do with the transmission via, it's called NCIC.
Yes.
That's our national database, and then our Texas database, which is TCIC.
I see.
And so when you send those administrative messages, or those messages in general, they have to be very succinct and small, or else you can miss things. And sometimes it's difficult to transmit large messages. So typically we'll have one-word phrases or shorter phrases to determine what exactly the alert is.
Gotcha.
And then we'll send those cues out to everybody, so that way it's kind of just more of a succinct message that everybody can send out.
And what would you say to people who kind of take the Amber Alerts and just kind of swipe them away on their phones? Obviously, iPhones are a really good way, or phones in general are a really good way to get information out to large amounts of people, but a lot of times people don't really take it seriously. So.
Yeah, so it's important, just anything you get, and it's as simple as a sign on the side of the road, eyewitness. So again, speaking from detective portion, we have cases that sometimes go unsolved, and so some of those cases might be reopened or solved due to someone's paying attention to those kinds of things, to where we send out that kind of message and someone's really paying attention, or it hits home with somebody. And so a little girl who's gone missing and now is at a border town waiting at traffic or something along those lines, goes up to New York City.
Yes.
One person can make that difference and notice, I remember that vehicle, I remember that specific portion of the license plate. And that can kind of trigger something to have them ask more questions, or maybe even report to law enforcement. So it's easy to disregard them because they're so annoying and happen so much, or at the worst possible times. Like I got one, I think the other night. And even me, my first intention, even as a detective, I'm like, oh my gosh, turn it off. But it's always good, just take a mental picture, see what it is, so that, because you never know when you're going to be the person that makes that difference.
Absolutely.
As a detective, throughout the years you've been working here, how effective have you seen Amber Alerts, and how much has it helped some of the cases that you work on here? And maybe if you could tell a story to elaborate, then that would be really helpful.
Sure. So we had a missing person, and it was triggered through alerts. And at the same time, last year, me and a couple other people here at the PD, we got a automated license plate reader program set up.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is that automated license plate reader program communicates with NCIC TCIC.
Mm-hmm.
So those alerts, or those amber alerts, or the camo alerts and all that stuff will be sent to our flock system. So whenever anytime that license plate trips or is detected on one of those cameras, it'll let us know. So for example, this case, we had a missing person and it was sent out as an alert. We were notified in different locations leading up to Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
And so we were able to identify her path that she traveled, as well as I said before, someone had recognized the vehicle in a city in Oklahoma and had reported it to local PD. So we had not necessarily triangulation, but we had a path to determine where she was at. And ultimately, we were able to kind of intervene with any sort of mental health issues that she was having, and kind of get her some help to, I guess, get away from that and help herself. And then without that technology or without that report, she would have just been driving around until someone talked to her.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Going off of that, I feel like I've heard a lot over the media that drones are often used in missing persons cases. Is that true? And how often are they used?
Yeah, so I mean, in conjunction with FD, we have a drone program here at Keller, and we have a lot of thermal imaging that we can use. We've got a lot of wooded areas, so sometimes it might interfere with that, but we would use it in case of like a missing child or missing person, so that we can determine if they're in any of the walking areas, get a better overview of what's going on, and then we can send our assets out to take care of that. And then you can kind of speak on the FD side.
Locally, we'll use them, same thing as in the missing person stuff. If we need to have a big area to cover, we can use them even on a house fire to get an aerial view of the house, give us a better idea of where we need to put our crews and stuff. I also respond with urban search and rescue, and we'll use drones to help map areas, to do recon of an area, which is just so much faster than trying to send people walking through a disaster area. So same thing like your tornado scenario, we'll use that to map the path of the tornado and then give us a better idea where we need to go.
Gotcha. So we were doing a little bit of research onto the different types of drones there are, and we know that in the recent fire in California, they're being used heavily to locate missing people and also do recon of areas, like you were saying. What types of drones would you say are probably the most prevalent in our area, though, or that could be the most efficient?
I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I don't know the classifications, but I know there's large drones, and then there's kind of the more medium and then hobbyist drones. Kind of, I don't know the exact terminology, but we lean more towards the middle side.
Gotcha.
Because we're not carrying anything, and we're not using it in any sort of like overseas. They use it for assaulting buildings and stuff like that. They've got I guess weapons and stuff aboard, and that'd be those larger drones. We use the medium-sized drones, and it's specifically for aerial observation, heat detection, and even sometimes just plotting points to measure distances. So, like if they need to figure out, like we're in a big floodplain here.
Yes.
If there is some sort of flood going on, which has happened multiple times in Keller's past, the drone would be able to plot points to see, like how far of a distance, what's affected, how much water's coming in, and then determine, do we need to expand that protected area out. So.
I guess similarly with a drone, in that aspect, y'all said earlier that you worked with GIS system. Would y'all expand upon that?
Yeah, so we're heavily reliant on using GIS because it's an easy way to map the city effectively and accurately.
Yes.
So just recently, Officer Fegis and I, we made a program. It's called the Community Camera Program. And what it does is we use GIS and citizens will email into the city, say, hey, I've got a Ring doorbell, outside camera, this kind of stuff. And what it does is it'll feed into ArcGIS. And so ArcGIS has hundreds of apps that you can use. So one specific app is a layered map. And what we do is we'll feed that information into the layered map. And get that information in bulk, and we can have it we can retain it and keep it in situations. So in times past, like if there's been a really big case where it's affected like a street,
Gotcha.
or we're trying to find a particular suspect leaving an area, we would have to go knocking on doors individually to see like, hey, do you have this camera? And that can be like in the middle of the night, that can be in the morning, that can be in the daytime when everybody's at work. The easier way to do it would be to use that ArcGIS system to send out an automated message, hey, in this particular area there was a crime. Could you check your cameras during this date and this time for any video that you might have, save it, retain it, and then a detective will come to you, or you can submit it into the department. So that's kind of the program that we've been doing, and also for monitoring sex offender restriction areas. So we'll have accurate sex offender restriction areas. So like I'm in charge of that program, and so some people, sex offenders will try to come into the city, and they'll tell me the address of the residence they want to go to, and using ArcGIS, because it's so accurate, I'll be able to tell the distance from a protected area
Gotcha.
and whether they can live in the city or not.
I see. It's cool.
And then
Ours aren't quite that cool, but some of it is. Locally, we'll use ArcGIS to map storm shelters. So if people have in-home storm shelters like that, we can mark it on our maps, and so we know. So if something's wrong with our house, we know where to go to find them, where the fire hydrants are located, and the testing of them. Most of the time I use it is when I deploy federally with urban search and rescue. So the best example was Hurricane Ian when it tore up Fort Myers Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
As we were searching that whole island, we would mark every house, take pictures of them, how much damage, if there were people in them, all that stuff, and it relays back real time back to FEMA and lets them know everything's going on, and it just speeds up that whole process of recovery efforts as well. So it can be pretty impressive.
So you brought up FEMA. I know, I can't think of the specific name, but I know there is a unit that's for like specific disaster situations. Is that what you're a part of, or have you worked with them?
As far as the urban search and rescue side of it, yes, I'm a member of Texas A&M Task Force 1, and we're a federal. Well, we're a state first, and then a federal urban search and rescue team. So we went to Florida several times for hurricanes. I went to Moore when the tornado went through Moore, Oklahoma, when the fertilizer plant exploded in West. We have the potential if there was an earthquake in Mexico. We almost went to Haiti when that earthquake there. So we don't necessarily respond internationally, but we do have the ability to.
That's amazing. So you mentioned a little about storm shelters. So I'm going to kind of move over to kind of evacuations. So I know, especially in our area, the biggest threat we have is mostly tornadoes. But what would you say to families who don't really have evacuation plans in place, and just kind of emphasizing the importance of making sure all their bases are covered?
Yeah, the best thing to do, like you said, is to have a plan in place beforehand and know what you're going to do in the event of emergency. But if you don't, realize that when those orders come out for evacuations or the recommendations, it's because the people that are the experts in the deal have taken all the information into account and know where the safe zones are going to be. So I mean, and that doesn't have to be natural disaster. That could be a man-made incident. It could be a train derailment where there's a lot of hazardous materials and all that kind of stuff. And by not heeding those two, it could leave you in an unprotected area where responders may not be able to get to you.
Yeah.
So we've seen that several times in hurricane situation stuff where people were told to leave and now it's flooded and we can't get to them. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to more like the fire side because we have you here already. So obviously in schools and in a lot of buildings, they have proper fire precautions or like mimicking how we should act in an emergency with a fire. What are some tips you would say people should keep in mind if something like that happens?
Really the best thing is to stay calm, and if you know your evacuation plans, because your schools, especially if it's there, practice them all the time. So whatever classroom you're in, know the quickest way out, but stay calm. You know, we have a joke that if you see us running, something really bad is going on.
Run with us.
But really, we try not to run, because running sometimes, especially large clouds, will cause panic. People fall down and cause more injuries. So the best thing is know your evacuation plan. If it's at home, know where you're going to meet once you get outside and that kind of stuff, and practice that stuff. That way, when the emergency happens, it's second nature to you.
Yeah. What would you recommend that people have with them? I know the basic flashlight, radio are always good recommendations, but just anything, I guess in our case, technological that you think would be a good addendum to that?
We are heavily reliant on technology. I will say that cell phones, even in disaster areas, are seem to work better than anything else.
Yeah.
Then when the hurricane hit North Carolina, that's the first time my team has been without cell phone communications.
Wow.
But I would probably have for your cell phone some battery banks that
Yes.
you keep charged, keep cases of water, not to get all into the prepper stuff, but maybe a little bit of food that's non-perishable that you can keep on hand and stuff like that. Blankets if it's cold weather, different things like that. Just stuff that'll protect you from the elements if you lose electricity and communications.
Yeah. You have a question? All right.
I had a question and then I lost it. I should have wrote it down.
Oh no! So you could just use my computer.
You cover most of it so far. Or at least we've bounced from one question to another
That's true.
to the point where we've covered everything.
I feel like a big thing we talked about in the last episode was just always putting people over property. So, like, regardless of the situation, if you want to keep your belongings in emergency situations, you should be protecting the people around you. So do y'all have any specific stories you'd like to share where that was kind of a theme or technology was an aid in that?
I don't know so much technology. Well, actually, it is technology. So just like we talked about in the drones, they have the thermal imaging cameras.
Yes.
We have all those on all our fire apparatus too. And we tell people, get out, you're not worth stuff and things like that. But we still make an effort because we understand, it may be a family Bible, family heirlooms. And we've actually used thermal imaging cameras to help us see through the smoke because now the life safety risk has gone down a little bit, but there's still a hazard and we can't see where we're going. But we use that to help find computers, cell phones, and things like that because we understand that people's whole lives are on those things.
That's amazing.
So.
Yep.
In an event of an emergency, I know we talked about how people need to prepare, right? So are there some ways that the fire department and the police department prepare for those scenarios? Like, for example, like you practice tornado warnings, like with the sirens, like on Wednesdays around the neighborhood and stuff. Are there like other ways you prepare for those type of scenarios?
Yeah, this last year we did combined a rescue task force training for a mass casualty incident. So both PD and FD got together. We used Westlake Academy and tested some of our processes that we do, and then evaluated to see if is that working on the PD side. The FD, the one thing that they do great is planning and setting stuff up. Cops were like little ants. Like as soon as the nest is, or as soon as the hill is hit, we're scattering. Right? We're just doing everything. Right? So it's always good to have FD there because they'll be like, hey, crazy guy, follow the plan. So it's good. So we do those kinds of things. We do a lot. We're trying to get together and get a tabletop scenario done for big incidents. I know y'all have done it in the past. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is just like we tell you to practice, we practice too. Because we call it high risk, low frequency events, and so they might happen very often, but we need to be good at them when they happen. So we're training all the time. And as I try to impart on a bunch of people that I work with that professional athletes, they don't train for a big game, they practice for the big game. So people work with me, I tell them we're not training, we're practicing, because when somebody's house catches on fire, the tornado comes through, or heaven forbid there's an incident in a school, that's the big game, and we need to be ready to go when it happens. And that muscle memory needs to take over instead of us. We make the joke of running around like little ants, but we try to be prepared so that doesn't happen.
Right.
Emphasizing on your relationship, like as a fire department and as a police department, what are some ways you rely on each other, and can you emphasize on how you work together, or what each department is better at, and that's why you two work so well together?
Well, we could make the joke about who's better at eating donuts.
We're
who's
much
better
better
at sitting
at
in
eating
recliners.
Like you talk about sleeping, obviously that. I mean exactly kind of like how I said, we're kind. I like to think of cops as like the worker bees. If you tell us what to do, we're going to do it perfectly fine. It's going to be perfect every single time, especially if it's like the hey, go get them type of thing. FD does that exact same thing very well, but what they do better, in my opinion, is the like coordinating stuff. If you notice, a lot of planning comes from them. Like a lot of the what to do in this kind of scenario, this scenario, and so they're much better at coordinating that. And again, we're really good at following directions. So if they plan that out, we'll follow it completely. So especially we get to, carry guns and drive fast. So
yeah, get all the fun stuff.
Yeah, we work together on all kinds of stuff. It's, you think of them more that like the police will be the force protection, and then we're, medical aid or fire suppression, things like that. And because I have a police certification, I am a police officer, but when I work for the city of Keller, I'm not working in that capacity, so I don't have a vest on, I don't have a gun, I don't have a taser.
Gotcha.
So we need them in violent situations to secure that scene for us, and then vice versa. If there's a hazardous materials incident or something like that, we provide the information so they don't go into those scenes and get themselves hurt on that.
Well, this isn't really on topic, but I feel like we have such a good opportunity with both of you being here. I feel like a good thing, especially now, especially for our generation, is just interacting with police officers and firefighters. So just kind of what you want to do in situations where either you get pulled over or you're in a fire situation, you're just kind of in the panicky. If both of you can touch on that a little bit.
Just like you said, stay calm. Like, getting pulled over, typically we'll kind of coordinate that. Like, we can tell when you're nervous and stuff like that. So main thing is, sticking to the good. Oh, here he is. Hey, why don't you just come in here, big guy? So don't do that. No. So when you get pulled over, obviously just stay calm. Hands where we can see them. And it doesn't have to be so rigid. Typically, we'll see that you're nervous and your hands are shaking on the steering wheel. We'll be like, okay, you're good to go. Like, you're good. Don't worry about that. And then as far as like mass casualty stuff, like if it's a, God forbid, an incident happens, but school shooting or something at the park or something like that. Main thing is just take care of yourself. Be safe. If you're one of the people that can make a difference in that couple first seconds, go ahead. But make sure to be submissive to oncoming officers, right? So immediately hands up as soon as, if let's say you're able to take care of whatever problem it is, immediately hands up, be submissive, again, because that's what we do off duty, right? And then if you guys got anything.
Yeah, even if it's on a medical incident, and, a lot of times, especially as younger people, the modesty comes into play, and just understand that, just from their standpoint, we're not there to hurt anybody or embarrass anybody, anything like that. So just, we're going to do our best to protect your privacy and all that stuff, and we're there to take care of you. The other thing is, remember, one bad seed can make a whole group look really bad. Right. So, for kids, for different religions, for different professions, so don't take into effect anything you see on the media and social media
absolutely.
And condemn a whole group based on the actions of one. I think we try to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess we could open the floor to you if there's anything else you want to add. For the most part, I feel like we've got all we wanted. So, if there's any
all the good points,
Yeah. I'm just glad y'all are taking an interest.
I have one more question. It's going off what we covered earlier, is Amber Alerts, and how you guys brought up that fire departments and police departments collaborate a lot. I was just wondering, I know police departments issue the Amber Alerts, they're the ones who get all the information, but does the fire department do anything to help with that, or?
Maybe not on the information side of it, because I talked about the NCIC and the TCIC. Those are state and federal crime databases, and you have to have special access and training to do that. But when it comes down to actually looking for the people, then it transitioned. We've got more of the search and rescue experience, and how to look at a big area, and so that's really where we'll transition to that. Is we're actually now boots on the ground trying to find the person.
I love stories. Are there any fun stories that you two have that you can share?
It doesn't have to be related to what we're talking about. It can be fun.
Sorry, it's just very interesting to me every time I hear a fun story.
Yeah, we're all in this pathway, so we all have an interest.
Exposed to different scenarios.
All right, so this is kind of fun. So it was like my first year being an officer. I just got an FTO, this field training, and so I was like super excited. You get to do everything on your own. And so I went to a call. There was a little bit of a language barrier, but they had said that they had the daughter, 10-year-old daughter, and 8-year-old son had seen somebody outside of the 8-year-old daughter's window.
Oh.
So I was like super excited. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. So I'm driving. I do everything right. I park a couple houses down. I use the trees and everything to cover concealment. And the guy. I do all this cool stuff. The guy's waiting at the front door. He's like, hey, and again, there's a language barrier, but he's saying back there. I was like, oh my gosh, get in there and lock the door, super cop.
Yeah.
I don't even realize it thinking about it now. Like I hopped the locked fence. Okay, how's he gonna get through it? Right? More than likely he hopped the fence too, or maybe he's just not even there. So I hopped the fence and I'm like, just trying to be super cop. And as I'm passing in my peripheral, I can see the family, like they are like shook. Like they are crying, screaming. Kids are losing it.
Yeah.
So go to the back, 2-story house. And just like any typical cookie cutter home, there's no balcony on that back end.
Yes.
So it's just window down to the ground floor window. So I was like, okay, cool. Finished around the other side, hopped the fence again because I want to be cool. And then I went to the front door, knocked, and said, hey, no one's here. Is there anybody inside? And so he kept pointing upstairs. I was like, oh my God. So again, being like a rookie, I'm like, oh man, it's my time. Here it is. So I'm walking up the stairs and when I say that the mom, the daughter, and the son were like howling crying, they were howling crying.
Oh.
So I'm like, what is going on? So I go upstairs and he's like, that room. And I'm like, upstairs, that room. This faces the outside window. So I'm sitting there just like, what is going on? Is he like climbing the wall of the house?
Oh gosh.
And so then it kind of pops in my head. I'm like, guns don't kill ghosts. What am I going to do if it's a ghost? So I kind of popped the door open, and as soon as that door opened, he peeked out. He went down the stairs, and I peeked and I looked up, and I was like, oh my gosh. Pushed in, nothing. So I still to this day I have no idea, but I thought it was pretty interesting. So I was like, what did they see?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just like Casper might have it out for you.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
I just kicked him out of home.
You just have to
Yeah.
scream and run away too.
Yeah.
I was about to say, how would, if it was the actual person, how would they gotten up there? Because you said the window's up there, there's no balcony.
Yeah, probably not.
It's
Yeah.
probably ghost.
Probably a reflection
Whoa.
or a ghost,
Uh-huh.
depending on which
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Well, since
They were young.
you kind of told a funny one. This one's not so much telling on me. It is a little bit, but
Oh.
so power goes out one night in big storms like we may have tonight.
Yeah.
And usually when the power goes out, fire alarms start going off. So we go to these people's houses, lights are completely out, and I'm newly promoted fire captain, and
Yeah.
I have a newer guy with me. And so I walk up to the homeowner, I'm like, ma'am, we're here to help, and is anybody else in the house, and this and that, and we're gonna go in and check, and she tells me there's nobody else in the house.
Oh dear.
So we go in the house and we're looking around and shining flashlights, and they have a staircase that goes up and then makes a 90-degree turn. We make a 90-degree turn, the firefighter's with me. Speaking of ghosts, he is terrified of that. And have you ever seen the scary movies when there's a really old lady in her nightgown and she's got the
No.
So he shines the flashlight up the stairs and the light stops at about her knees.
I would turn around.
So it looks like she's floating.
Oh,
I was scared too, but he screams a lot of words that are not safe for a podcast. And I don't think his feet touched the ground until he hit his feet. So
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
turns out it was a lady's mom. She forgot she was staying with him because she had had some health issues. And I think we scared the lady at the top of the stairs. She scared us, but
Oh gosh. Well, you had 2 ghost stories as well.
Yep. 2 good ghost stories.
This isn't really related, but I had a few questions about a few stereotypes about police officers and
Sure, yeah.
firefighters. Okay, according to the media, police officers eat a lot of donuts, and you mentioned that earlier. Is that actually true?
So if my chief is listening, no. I hate donuts. If he doesn't listen to this, I try to eat them at least once a day.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's for sure.
Speaking because I have a police certification too, and I used to work patrol, the gear shifters in the cars are perfect to slide donuts on.
Oh, yeah.
Because
You're
it
kidding.
saves about a dozen of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, I was like, whoa.
That's a quick trade secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Just make sure you do it safely.
Yeah.
Only use 6.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
Krispy Kreme is not real donuts.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
correct.
So what's your preferred donut then?
Oh, it's got to be the little local stores that
Yeah.
the family
That's
owned.
What is it, like Shipley's? I feel like that's. Oh, I can't. I can't tell
Shipley's
you where it
isn't
is.
bad. Kelly Donuts is probably one of my favorites.
For firefighters,
Mhm.
there's just this I don't know if it's a common misconception that firefighters save a lot of cats and trees, but I remember reading this article saying that cats can easily get themselves down from a tree.
So-
just wondering
so-
about that.
This is.
Yes, we actually will get your cat out of the tree. We've got lots of things out of trees, model rockets, airplanes.
Oh.
Cops.
But we cops. But we do have the running joke, and because a cat will come down when they're hungry. So we do have the running joke as we're going there. Have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree?
Oh.
So they will come down.
Okay.
But yes, that is something we actually do, but just don't tell a lot of people because we're dog people.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It just portrayed so much in the media, and I remember reading this article. Like, I'm like, okay, so do cats? I know cats climb trees, but I'm pretty sure they can get down through the guts and stuff up there anyway.
Well, I guess in summary, in our podcast today, we touched on a lot of things: Amber Alerts, what to do in evacuations, touched on drones that we actually, Keller Police Department actually has, and the GIS system, which is really cool. We'll definitely add some things to our website, so be sure to check that out about the things we talked today. But other than that, Detective Brockmuller, Chief... Oh my gosh.
You'll get it.
The Gerda. There we go. It happened. I was like, I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, thank you both for coming out and speaking to us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.